Welcome once again to a beautiful brand new week where we'll be looking into the market to see how we're going to be trading it this week, how the market has closed last, and what we are expecting for the week. Okay, this is how we come up every week, usually on Mondays, to look into the market and have a weekly outlook. So for this week, we are trying to see what is the market, what is it going to look like, what are we expecting in the market. So if you have your own week already marked out, you have your plans, you may want us to know in the chat box. Let's know what you're doing. If you're enjoying our videos, you want us to continue this way, giving you nice trading tips and all of that, do well to subscribe to this channel. You want to also like the video, support this weekly market outlook of the currency market and even the crypto. We take a look at different markets, by the way. If there are some pairs that I am not looking at, some instruments that you like to trade that I do not incorporate in this weekly analysis yet, please do well to let me know in the comment section, and I will look at it in my subsequent videos. Okay, so as usual, let's quickly take a look at what we have for this week, planned for this week in the economic calendar. I've filtered this for just the one who's high impact. This is xm.com economic calendar. And when you see three bulls like this, they represent higher level of importance or high impact. Two bulls represent medium impact and one bull represents low impact. So I filtered to show just the ones with high impact because these are the ones we want to consign ourselves with in the week. Okay, so we have for British pound, we are expecting CPI reports on Wednesday. Before then, later today, my time in Nigeria is GMT+1, so it's going to be my 10:45 p.m. But that could be morning for your system time or whatever where you are joining from. So we have New Zealand dollar. We're expecting quarter over quarter CPI report, and that's basically we have a couple of countries or currencies that we're expecting CPI report for the week. We're expecting for NZD, we're expecting for British pound, euro, all right, and Canadian dollar. In fact, for Canadian dollar, we're expecting the core CPI month over month, all right? And these ones, they are indicative of what the inflation rate is. And this is very important to know because when we know the inflation rate, it helps us have an idea of what the central bank would usually want to do when it comes to the interest rate decision. When inflation is getting too high, it is expected that the interest rate to be increased in order to bring it down, because the aim of the central bank is to make price to be stable, not too high or not increasing very fast and not reducing too fast, because they do not want a high deflation, they do not want high inflation. It's a balance. That's what they want to create. So when the price is increasing too highly, by which we see from CPI reports, consumer price indexes. If the consumer price index is based on a basket of products and services, it's increasing too fast, then the government will step in to increase, bring in a monetary policy that would help to lower the inflation, okay, or just bring it to a point of balance. And so that's what we're expecting for the week, mainly the CPI report. We're also going to see some EU leaders summit for the European Union, where for Australian, we're expecting employment change report, initial jobless claim for the USD, where I think somewhere in the week on Wednesday, we're expecting the crude oil inventory that can help us have an idea of what's the inventory level of crude oil and how this may have impact on the price. We know that crude oil, whatever product we are looking at or services, that the higher the demand for it, the higher the price. And when the supply is increasing, the price is expected to reduce. But when the supply reduces, the price is expected to increase as well. So if the supply is reduced the way we are seeing in the news and everything, that would also have impact on the crude oil price, okay? And it helps us to know how we want to trade it. Okay, so that's basically that. when we talk about fundamental, we'll make it as brief as possible. Now, let's quickly go into the chart and see what is happening with the US dollar index. I like starting from the US dollar index because it helps me have an idea of what's happening with the USD and, against the other currencies, against major currencies like the euro, the British pound, the yen. That's what the USD is measured against to give us the currency index, the US dollar currency index. So yeah, what are we seeing? We are seeing an uptrending market that is not taking out yet. It's still remaining uptrend. Last week had closed as an indecision, but look at how the week before had closed, a bullish pin bar, which is indicative of continuous movement to the upside. We also know that the monetary policy that the US, the Fed, is adopting is such that it's hawkish. The interest rate decision is expected to be increased because of the high inflation. Okay, so it's likely going to make dollar to remain high till the end of this year. Well, we are close to the end of the year already. So let's see how dollar continues to remain, how the strength of dollar continues to remain to the end of the year. Okay, so dollar looks bullish at this time, although we see something like we're seeing a little bit of correction, but the major direction is still high. So long-term view, dollar looks bullish. Let's go then to take a look at gold. Good. What are we seeing? We have a major support here. This is the weekly time frame, by the way. So we have this major support around the 1677, and it got broken some weeks ago. We see that break to the downside. That's had been that way since around the pandemic breakout when the price had crossed this area, and it has remained that way since 2021, sorry. This has been like a major support that keeps price bouncing back to the upside. But now we finally have a break below it. Price retraced a little bit above. Well, how do we have last week? Last week closed bearish, and it's a big bearish candle that kind of engulfs the body part of the candle of last week, although that one is it has a week above, but if you look at where the body is, this engulfs it. So that's some indication of bullishness on the part of US dollar, sorry. So, and indicative of bearishness on the part of gold. So if that remains bearish, what am I expected to see? I'll see a little bit of correction and continuation to the downside. So gold looks bearish at this time. Let's take a look at oil. Well, compared with what I am seeing with gold, I am seeing more bullishness with oil. Why do I say that? Look at how we had this engulfing bullish candle 2 weeks ago. And then last week, what happens? This had moved down, but it is just doing like 50% of that move to the upside, which in this case would mean a correction. Okay, it looks like a correction. We also see that although this had moved down high, the downtrend is not broken yet. Sorry, the uptrend is not broken yet. Look at this. This eye is higher than this. This eye is higher than this. Although we had this break, this moved spike to the upside, but the body itself had closed air this last time before this eye. So that means we have a higher high. Now, how about the lows? Okay, so if you are looking at this, we are taking this as a last low, then this has broken below it. But if we take this, if we are taking this as a high, just this old one, then this is still high. This is still, we're still having a higher high. Okay, now looking at this candle that closed 2 weeks ago, that's an engulfing bullish candle, which closed above my 15 moving average. And last week had retraced back to some 50% of that movement to the upside. What am I expecting? A continuation to the upside. It may continue to the downside, but based on that retracement, I'm expecting some continuation upward. Now, let's move on. Let's take a look at Bitcoin before we see some major currency pairs. Bitcoin as well, we have like a support here, and you see that the price is just kind of bottoming around that area. It's just moving, ranging around, unable to push to the downside anymore, and not moving up as well. So if I am looking for short-term trade, of course, I'll be buying. If I'm looking for long-term trade, I'll stay out of the market until I see a clear indication moving to that direction. Okay. Short-term trade, I'll be buying Bitcoin because that's what I'm seeing here. The sellers are not, no longer able to push that price to the downside. How about the buyers on the other hand? They also are not pushing it up. They also have not really shown strength in pushing up the price. But if I look at it on the daily, there was this bullish pin bar that was formed at some point. Let's make it bigger. You see the small bullish pin bar here. That's indicative of bullishness for me. And we also see some move to the upside before we see all of this down. So let's see. This looks in the short term bullish, but long term, I'll wait to see a clear indication. So that's that for some commodities and Bitcoin. Let's go take a look at USD Canadian dollar. What do we see? Bullishness. Last week had closed even higher than the week before. It's all indicative of bullishness. As I can see, we're having what I would call a correction now. If that correction will break below here, it could help me start looking for a sell. That's below where? Let's see. Let's place it here. So if it will break below the 1.367, then I'll be looking for an indication for a sell. But right now, the whole direction is bullish. Euro USD, what do we have? We have a strong move to the downside. Now it's around the support and it is giving us indecision, giving us confusing signals. Some would show that it's selling, others will show that it's buy. Last week at close as an indecision. Indecision means like a tug of war between the buyers and seller. Who's going to win is our question. So the buyer's going to get stronger and win the seller, so are the sellers going to get stronger and win the buyers? Whichever one, we see how this begins to move. So that's what we're seeing here. We wait and see. KUD USD, looking the same way. This one is even strongly bearish. Look at how last week had closed, very strong. So, however, because we have not really seen any serious retracement, the impulse to the downside has been really strong after this corrective move here. We have this strong impulse. Now, I would expect to see a little bit of correction at some point because we know that the market isn't just going to continue one direction. The market moves in waves. So it is expected that at some point there would be some level of correction. So I would be expecting to see some correction at any time soon. This is strongly bearish. So the correction may not be a deep one. It is also possible that it's a deep one. So that's why today's Monday. I would wait to see what kind of movement I see closing the day. And that could help me find an indication on doing a buy or a sell. So let's move on. British pound USD. Well, for British pound USD, I have a buy ongoing. Why did I do a buy? I saw some movements during the week last, and this mainly is it when we have a sharp move to the downside like this, where we have like sell-off around the support or resistance, and then we now almost immediately we have a move to the upside again, clearing that sell-off. Usually the price is expected to continue to move to the upside. And so that's one of the reasons I saw as the market was moving last week, I set a pending order for a sell limit, a buy limit. So it took me in toward the close of business on Friday, and I'm still in that buy. And interestingly, there was even a gap opening the market today was with a gap. So I entered somewhere inside of this candle of last week, somewhere there. And I still have the buy ongoing. I'm expecting that it gets up a little bit, even if this is going to continue down. The major direction is still looking down. But with this kind of candle at the bottom here, it's indicative of a buy for some times. NZD USD, what do we have? They all look like they're bottoming at this time. Most of the major currency pairs, the ones having US dollar with them, they all look like they're around the major support. So I would expect to see some correction from there before it's, even if it's not going to totally change the direction and remain bullish, at least we see some correction, understanding that the market moves in waves. Let's see USD CHF. What do we have there? We've been having bullishness for this one for quite a while as well. It got to around this resistance, broke the resistance last week. And what do we have? Now price is trying to move back down. That could be some fake break anyways. So it is possible. If we are looking at that resistance as well, we can take it as a zone. It is best taking it as a zone and not just using one horizontal line. So if I'm going to take it as a zone, I start from this high, which is like a lower high. I take it through to the higher high, okay? So now we are still in that resistance zone and this price could change direction from here. If dollar would get bearish based on what we were analyzing earlier, it is possible that this would sell. But if dollar remains bullish with the trend, then this would break out above that resistance and we would expect continuation to the upside. USD yen, what do we see? This one is, it's strong, a really strong currency pair, USD yen. Yen, the Japanese government hasn't done anything serious with the monetary policy. We have a couple of interventions from the government by buying its own currency to make it a bit stronger against the US dollar, selling off the US dollar reserve and buying the yen. But did that have impact on the market? We saw some short-term impact, but that did not last long at all. We've been seeing strong movement to the upside. Last week had also closed bullish, and there's a pattern that we would see from the monthly time frame, which I think I've shown here a couple of times. We have what we call a head and shoulder, inverted head and shoulder pattern. All right, that got broken, the neckline got broken, and price has just been pushing, like moving all the way to the upside since then. What's the inverted head and shoulder? Let me show you the pattern. See here, we have a move down, we have correction, another low. I think I've drawn this one bad. Let's remove that and redraw it. Okay, so I think it's drawing more interestingly now. So what do we have? We have a breakout above the neckline of this head and shoulder. And that has been going seriously to the upside. We want to see some retracements because we know, like I mentioned, the market moves in waves. So that could happen if there's a bigger intervention from the Japanese government. We can see some movement to the downside. But for now, this is pushing up. But I also know that based on reports, from market researchers and all of that, it is expected that the government would not want the USD against yen to be more than 150. So maybe around the 149, 150, we may see another intervention. And that maybe it's going to work and we'll see some movement to the downside. That's why I'll be careful jumping in on a buy at this time. I know this may continue going up because if I'm going to measure and expect this head and shoulder pattern to really play out, this one inverted though, inverted head and shoulder. If I really expect it to play out, then I measure from the head to the neckline. I place it above the neckline. Where do we expect price to get to? Yeah, 172. Is that possible? Well, nothing is impossible in the market. The way the economy is moving, it's such that anything is possible right now. All right, so that's basically it. Let's quickly take a look at the Eurozone. Let's look at Euro British Pound. How did the week market close last? This is bearish, really bearish. Based on the trade I have on British Pound USD, I'm expecting British Pound to continue stronger. If that happens, we would expect that this may likely continue lower to toward the support. Okay. So let's see how far that goes. Let's make this fast now. We have like a double bottom here, a pattern called double bottom. The neckline is been broken. This is the neckline of the double bottom. This is bottom one, bottom two, and the neckline got broken to the upside. Last week is an engulfing bullish candle. We're expecting to see a little bit of correction and continuation to the upside. So this is bullish for me. Euro AUD. Euro Canadian dollar, what do we see? Looks a little bit like what we saw with the other one. Last week had not closed extremely bullish, like what we saw with Euro AUD, but it's also looking interesting, okay? But also pointing to the upside. You see this huge engulfing bullish candle we have there. All of these are just correction to hit. It's still moving down, but I expect to see it up again. Euro yen bullish. This is a bullish trend, so I expect this to remain bullish until I see a change in direction. This is also still pointing up. This is a major move to the upside. Then we have correction, but all of the correction, the way the candlestick pattern are forming, are also still indicative of movement to the upside. Euro CHF, well, it also looks bullish. Looks like Euro is beginning to gain traction to the upside. This is an uptrending market, obviously, and this is still looking bullish as well. Canadian dollar yen, GBP yen looking bullish. Yeah, now GBP yen looks bullish, but what do we have? It's around the major resistance, right? So care has to be taken buying at this time. We can see an intervention at any time. So if that happens, this may move down seriously. So I'll be careful buying now until there's any strong movement. British pound AUD also is bullish. We see how big that last week candle that close. So maybe some correction, then we see continuation. British pound Canadian dollar also look bullish. British pound is bullish. British pound NZD bullish. Expecting to see correction. Okay, I guess I would want to stop here. But before I go, let's take a look briefly at the US 500, like the S&P 500. What do we have? This has been pushing to the downside. We have like a bottoming here, indecision, consolidation, and all of that. And I would want to see some movement to the upside here. Not that I can make that decision, but I see some break below the support. It's looking a little bit like what we saw with gold. So this one, if this, maybe the day would close bullish, then it's real engulfing bullish candle would trigger me to want to find a buy here. It is also possible that it remains bearish if it will go and break below this support, that is created around here, below the 3572 area, right? So that's basically all of that, and this is how much I am able to go through. Good to have you. Please remember that our academy is open. We have the Forex Varsity program that takes you from the basic through advanced level. And you sure do not want to miss out on this. So if you have not joined us on our academy, this is the time for you to do that. Let's help you do trading right. Let's hold you by the hand and work with you every step of the way. We are closing to another month end, and a new interactive class will start on the Forex Varsity. So it's a good time for you to start now so that you have access to the self-paced courses and start learning the basics, start learning the things you should know before we begin the interactive classes. So if you are seeing this, you want to be a part of this academy, okay? I also have with me my book, my Forex trading book, the Ultimate Forex Trading Blueprint. I don't know if you have your copy yet, but it's very important that you get a copy of this book. It's hardcover book, a book that would stay for long in your library as a trader. You do not want to be a trader and not have this book in your Forex library. Ultimate Forex Trading Blueprint. It's a very good book especially for technical traders, because it takes you through different strategies that you can trade with. It takes you through risk management, money management, trading psychology, your trading plan, plan templates. Everything is there. You do not want to miss out on this. So please, if you're still looking to do trading right, you need to be a part of the academy and grab your copy of this book. Please have a beautiful week ahead of you. That's how I come to the end. Thank you and enjoy.